Okay, hello everyone. This is Ryan again. So, doing my next video, I was going to just continue my story today. I'm here just hanging out in the car in the garage because it's nighttime. It's probably the only place I could do this quietly without disrupting everybody else. So I'm just going to be doing that here. Yeah, probably beats walking in the hot sun. So yeah, I'll be trying this out. So I was going to continue the story. So I mentioned a lot of what I've done prior, when I accepted Christ at MTSU, and then going forward from that, and then some of the people I met. So there's some interest. So now we're talking about Memphis. Eventually I moved to Memphis to start my career in IT. And so I eventually got my job down there. My place I worked was just, well, I won't say where I worked, but I'll just say this is probably the most defining period of my life, I would say. Just living out there just living on my own, going to the churches that I've gone to, and really kind of growing in my faith in my own way, separate from living with parents and everything. And it was a big deal. So what I've got going on now, I'm going to turn on some lights. So what happened was, when I was down there, I was working. Started going to a church called the Life Church of Memphis, and all I can say is it was a great experience. They were all very kind and very accepting of everybody, and it really kind of made it a very great place to really find who you are, kind of really step into what God wants you to do, I guess. Because they were very much about just being involved in the community, and everyone helping in serving God in some way, and serving in the church. And that really, those type of things, having those opportunities was very meaningful, because finding those opportunities have been harder later. But yeah, it was great. I did make a few friends while I was there. They were a bit surface level, but they were good friendships for the most part. Overall, it was a good experience. One of the things that kind of, when I moved out there and started my job, I did kind of had that bit of an aspiration to make some type of Christian video game or something. And that was something else that was kind of on my mind at the time. There was one idea that was kind of brewing in my head, but to really kind of explain that, I was kind of going through some very complicated issues, and I'll just say that there were some beliefs that I kind of latched onto that were kind of legalistic, and it was sort of a piece from the last major group of friendships that I had from previous that I mentioned in the last video. And a lot of that really drove the ideas that I came up with. I'm going to make another video about that, of course. I'll just say it, though. It has a lot to do with some author named Joshua Harris, and some books he wrote about kissing, dating goodbye, and then courtship later. He changed the name to courtship to wiggle his way out of his own words, to be perfectly honest. But so a lot of the friends at that in that old previous time period, back living in the Nashville area, some of them had those ideas. And so once that group kind of fell apart, I did kind of latch onto this other. I somehow stumbled upon this band, I guess, Christian band, rock group or whatever, that seemed to have a lot of those ideas as well, I guess. And I just sort of was, maybe in a way, trying to hold on to what I had, maybe looking for that. It's a bit complex, but yeah, and the game was sort of inspired by some of that. But long story short, I did kind of, it was, I guess you could say I was having those ideas at the same time. Just trying to sort through that. Eventually, some people at that Life Church, while I was there in Memphis, they had some opportunities to go on mission trips. I did kind of jump onto that a bit at the beginning. I got a kind of cold feet, which kind of just, I kind of backed out of it. But I don't know if that was the best move, but I don't know. My time at the Life Church has always been a bit conflicted, and I think there was a lot of this had to do with that. That partly this game, but it's just also just everything together. But I think that's probably part of what God was working through me at the time. I seemed like God was really trying to break that in my life, those beliefs, because there's just some legalistic ideas that I got attached to. And I'm going to talk more about this, what my experience was with this late in some other video. But I feel like some point, I remember while I was down in Memphis, I kind of just had this idea. It's like, these ideas, there's some things that really don't make sense, and they don't make sense from a biblical perspective, because God never said don't date. He said don't. Well, one, he doesn't want you to do. He doesn't encourage divorce, and he doesn't actually want you to have sex outside of marriage. Those are the main things. You do not commit adultery. Do not do fornication, things like that. He never said all these other things that Joshua Harris was adding on to and trying to make that the rules. And then he was going off and changing things, and then while still holding on to a bunch of rules. And yeah, so it's complicated. But I feel like God has really been trying to break that, and especially with some of the personalities that I've kind of been letting enter my the things that I'm doing. It's just sort of, in a way, I guess, in a way, it was becoming an idol, in a way, because I was trying to hold on to what I lost, while trying to do the things that God wants me to do. But those are all in a way, those are all conflicting with each other. And I think maybe a lot of that conflicted with what I was possibly could have been called to at the Life Church, but maybe I wasn't. I don't know. But because eventually I did reached the point where I was feeling like I wasn't hearing from God, and that really truly I feel like God was telling me to leave, because there were so many people telling me, hey, you want to do this or you want to do that, and it just seemed like it wasn't a lot of room just to hear from God on one issue or another. And it just seemed like, I feel like that's what I really needed at the time, was just to really hear from God. And so eventually, after about 3 years of being there, I did leave. And this is not exactly I don't know if this is exactly where I was going with this story, but it is a big deal. I know that eventually I went another direction with that game idea, and I took a completely different idea eventually. It seemed I guess a big part of it was just taking that idolatrous, or just that idea out of, about those personalities and that rock band or whatever, just keeping them out of the idea, and then creating a completely different idea. And then I guess that if I was able to move forward with the idea a little bit. So not sure where that idea will ever go, or if God will ever pick that up again, but it did kind of help me to so there's been a big process of trying to remove those, move away from the legalistic ideas of Joshua Harris and all those ideas of not dating, or not, like you must. It's just, I don't know where to go with that. But yeah. I guess this is just kind of where what my thoughts were going through, what I've gone through down in Memphis. I was going to I feel like I would have taken a different angle at this, but I'm guessing maybe this is what I've come up with, thinking about everything that's happened. A lot of what I dealt with was breaking free of that. And there was a next chapter after leaving that church, the Life Church, was going to Crossway Church. It was kind of the next step of breaking free from all of those ideas, and really kind of stepping into the way God wants me to see things. So I guess that for now, this is the video. I'll probably talk more about Crossway Church next time. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I was thinking there would be talking about a little more. There were a few other things at the Life Church, was like they were encouraged me to join a some kind of leadership program that they had, which was really good too. I thought it was a great idea. I didn't end up, and every time I tried to apply, I was kind of like, do I want to do this? Do I not want to do this? And there was always this thing where I never was really sure. And I guess obviously the pastors talking to me could actually see that. And I understand, I mean, it was obviously, I've been kind of conflicted there. I'm sure it would have been a great thing, and it was a little bit sad that I went some other path while all the people I knew there were going some other direction and going into these leadership program and kind of going off on their journey, their to whatever they're going to do. And I ended up going some other direction. I don't know why it ended up like that. I guess when I walked away from the church, I was a bit angry, a bit bitter in a way. But I get, in many ways, it was just part of the direction God was taking me. And so I'm happy for what he did. He took me on the next church I went to was probably the greatest place I've ever been, Crossway Church. That's going to be the next video. That would be the golden years for me, at least. Marriage was excellent too. That happened much, much later, but the Crossway is probably the absolute defining period of my life. So I'll be getting into that period later, because I'll just be continuing everything I've talked about, and we'll go from there. Until next time, thank you all for watching. We'll talk soon. Thank you. Bye.